Shloka Uttishtata Jagrata Praptavaranni Bodhata Churasya Dara Nishitad Duratyata Durga Patastat Kavayo Vadanti. This is already well-known shloka from Kathopanishad. But most of the people do not know that this is from Kathopanishad because Swami Vivekananda made it so popular, talking about arise, awake, and stop not till your goal is reached. This pretty much summarizes and encapsulates his call for both spiritual awakening and relentless pursuit of truth. I think that is very much applicable to each one of us in Samskrita Bharati Karyakarta group or our students for that matter. So today what I thought was I'll touch upon some points which are not as well known and connect them to what we have on our plate a little bit. So obviously, one of the things which we all know is he is the one who started the Ramakrishna order, and his Ramakrishna mission is very, very well known. The other part of his was a practical form of spirituality. That is what he focused on. His advocacy for emphasizing service to humanity as a path to enlightenment. That is probably the modern interpretation of Karma Yoga. And that is one thing that I think he started, the Ramakrishna order and all of that, the integrating the spirituality with practicality. Of course, Modi ji talks quite commonly about now Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. He mentioned it in a variety of events. I think this also comes out of the Sri Swami Vivekananda's vision of awakened India, how India can contribute to the world not just materially, spiritually, but also intellectually, thereby retaking the role of being the world's teacher. I think that is becoming more and more of reality these days than ever before. There is a wonderful quote about Vivekananda ji that you might be knowing, that the latest scientific discoveries, namely the law of conservation of energy and the law of indestructibility of matter, are both met in the Vedas. Basically, he looked at convergence of science and spirituality quite a bit. While I can go deep into being a recovering physicist, talking about how that applies to quantum physics, or it talks about how modern technology can come about, I just want to emphasize a little bit more that Swami Vivekananda has had several conversations with people like Nikola Tesla. Many of you, especially the Tesla car becoming a favorite for many of the Indians these days, you might be familiar with Nikola Tesla. And Swami Vivekananda believed that Tesla's work could demonstrate the unity between energy and matter. And why is that important? Because it paralleled the Vedantic concepts of Brahman and the Jagat. Those are some of the things he felt that could be proven with the electromagnetism work and the focus on magnetism, a lot more than electricity, that Nikola Tesla and Tesla coins all talk about. So in some respect, Swami Vivekananda's teachings preempted modern physics understanding of energy and matter. As a matter of fact, many of his ideas echo the principles of Einstein's theory of relativity, but much before Einstein had actually articulated some of them. Another interesting point about Swami Vivekananda is his emphasis on direct experience and realization in spirituality can probably be compared with what we call the scientific approach, the empirical approach, objective empirical approach, where the theories are validated through experimentation and observation, are some things that Swami Vivekananda talked about. Now, why am I bringing that up is, in Samskrita Bharati USA, whether this kind of a convergence could influence our teaching methods, especially in explaining some of the complex Sanskritam texts or some of the philosophical concepts or even simple teaching of L1 through L4 methods or Gita or any of them, can we begin to bring scientific and technological and modern analogies to explain some of the ideas that are there? And can we integrate what people here go through in what we are teaching with a few more examples, few more metaphors? That would be very, very interesting. And as you know, the Vivekanandaji's vision was not just theoretical, but he really solidly aimed at practical version of spirituality. He pretty much advocated life where spiritual principles are in total harmony with scientific understanding, because that is what he felt it leads to balanced and fulfilled existence. And one of the things which may not be as well known to people is that he had series of conversations with Rockefeller. As a matter of fact, it is said that Rockefeller actually started using his wealth for public welfare, and that is what actually marked the beginning of modern philanthropy. That happened because Vivekanandaji's conversations with Rockefeller. Not only that, he also had wonderful conversations, and Salinger, J.D. Salinger, had been deeply affected by Swami Vivekananda and his writings, and there are many other global figures who are influenced. The other point which is very interesting and not well known is his role in shaping the early human rights discussions, because he emphasized dignity, respect, and inherent divinity of every individual. Of course, Mahatma Gandhi talks about how Swami Vivekananda's writings were significant influence in formulating his own ideas about social reform and independence. So to a certain extent, his thoughts on social service, education, human rights, they continue to resonate today. How do you see, especially with what's going on in Israel, what's going on in various parts of the world, how do we influence our students by integrating social justice, integrating what's happening in the world with our Sanskritam teaching is something that is worth reflecting on. Of course, he also said, which is well-known quote is, each soul is potentially divine. And he had series of conversations around this topic with a large number of Western intellectuals, and he presented Vedanta in a way that resonated with not only the intellectuals but Western audience who were completely unaware of the Hindu thought, especially the Vedantic thoughts, where he was able to bring in the universal themes as unity of existence or pursuit of truth. These days, with so much of confusion regarding AI and everything becoming, hallucinated, as they call, at the AI hallucination or whether it is a human hallucination, the difficulty of knowing what is truth and what is lie, it may be very important to think about this. Not only that, he also had several conversations with the Western psychologists. Some of you might be familiar with William James and how William James talked about mind and consciousness, and his insights on mind and consciousness, he actually attributes to conversations he had with Swami Vivekananda. And not only that, even now in the modern world, we talk about self-realization and mindfulness. Many people look at mindfulness concepts going to the Buddhist thought and the influence of His Holiness Dalai Lama. But Swami Vivekananda talked about mindfulness much before many of these people, and that is very much talked about. In my field of leadership development and organizational psychology, there is a whole field called positive psychology. And there are therapies that are focused on self-awareness. They are some things that Swami Vivekananda had conversations with many of the psychologists of that particular time. Similarly, he talked about Atma Shakti. That is the source of inner strength, the inner presence, and the selfless service, which we already touched upon, also are something that we can bring in as teachers and karyakartas in Samskrita Bharati. And education, which we are very much into, is the manifestation of perfection that is already in man. So in that respect, how do we build character? How do we focus on the strength of the mind, strength of the moral values in teaching what we are teaching to SBUSS students and in ourselves is something that is worth talking about. Finally, as it comes towards the end, I just want to touch upon saying one of these quotes where he said, in a day when you don't come across any problems, you can be sure you are traveling the wrong path, he said. So if you are going on a path that is meaningful, that is dharmic, and that is something that is towards self-realization, he expected that there will be a lot of challenges. And he said you have to apply the spiritual principles to overcome personal challenges. And he talked about inner strength and inner resilience can deal with the external stress and external problems. And he also talked about balancing the material pursuits with spiritual aspirations. He did not necessarily expect and encourage many people to go become sannyasis. He actually said, do not renunciate the world, but live in it with a higher sense of purpose. With a sense of higher purpose is another way of talking about and translating it. So anything which we do, we need to do it with self-awareness and mindfulness. Once we develop that, that can help deal with the stress, improve relationships, develop resilience, and also enhancing overall well-being that we need a lot more. And other thing which we talk about is Ekam Sat Vipraha Bahuda Vadanti, which he used to quote quite a bit. The key part which he talked about in this is that he was a critical thinker who did not shy away from addressing the shortcomings of both Eastern cultures and the Western cultures. He was critical of the certain ways of organized religion and certain ritual aspects that were overshadowing the essence of spirituality. And he felt we need to emphasize a lot more spirituality and allow for the roots of rituals, religion to grow within themselves. So to end, I would say Swami Vivekananda was not just a spiritual guru, but a progressive thinker, a societal transformer, and his teachings and critiques remain profoundly relevant to address the complexities of this post-COVID, war-ridden, complex world that we live in. So whether we take his integration of science and spirituality, or his global influence, or synthesis of Eastern and Western philosophies, or his revolutionary ideas and practical application of his teachings in variety of them, I believe are all about embarking on a journey of self-discovery and growth guided by the principles which we talk about. And essentially, I was also one person who had been deeply influenced, and that's what helped me to think about for almost 40 years, integrating the Indic wisdom into management and into my teaching business and into coaching CEOs. I have integrated many of Swami Vivekananda's lessons into various things which I had opportunity to teach. So let me end by bringing one of the quotes that make a lot of sense to me. Uddarer atmanam avasadayet atmaiva atmane bandhuhu atmaiva ripuratmanaha. I think this is something that I believe in Swami Vivekananda's message comes up extraordinarily meaningfully. As Karyakartas and as teachers and volunteers in Samskrita Bharati, if we can figure out a way how Atma can play multiple roles as our conscience, as our guide, as our the one that brings clarity, so that we can bring that kind of wisdom, that kind of self-reflection and strength of character in our students and in ourselves. Thank you very much. And it is a great opportunity for me to talk about Swami Vivekananda. And thank you for giving me this opportunity.